You're tuned into the first episode of Talks with Toni. And before we get started, let's make sure we handle the real business. Make sure you like, subscribe, or whatever it is we do on this social media thing. And we got our first guest, Bob. And if you don't know who that is, you're definitely about to find out. Let's go check it out. Hey everybody, thank you for staying tuned. I have my special guest for today is going to be Bob. Who's Bob, you may ask? My bartender, duh. How y'all doing today?
We're doing good, Toni. Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys for coming in. So, Bob, I know everybody asks that. That's like the main question, like, why Bob?
Why Bob? That's a simple thing because you need Bob. Bob is an acronym, short for Bartender on Board. And we've been in the marketplace now. We just are about to celebrate 3 years in February, so we're really excited about that. And Bob is the latest, greatest alcohol beverage catering company here in the Atlanta area.
Okay. So when you were sitting down thinking for your name, like, what should I name my business?
Oh, wow. That is the story behind that. So a friend of mine that I was dating said, oh, wow, all she needed was a bartender on board her team. And it clicked. Oh, my God. The MBA in me said, oh, I can do something with that. I can sell that. So Bartender on Board became the acronym that I was able to really market around and put something around. And once we saw the logo, we just knew it was a go.
That is awesome. So the theme for today is Family Hustle. So this is your daughter.
It is my baby girl.
Jasmine.
Hi.
All right. And so what made you decide, you know what? Instead of it just being me and me working and hiring, outsource, what made you make it want to be a family thing?
I think it's just a culture that we come into play with. As Black people, we typically bring along those who come with us. So for me, I was let go from corporate America and I was just devastated. And it was really the fact of, do I go back and try to recreate, trying to get this corporate America job and try to fight with people that are half my age for half the money? Or do I go and embark in entrepreneurial ventures? And when I decided to make that, I was telling my kids, hey, you guys got to help me out with this. I can't do this by myself. So that's really prompted it.
So when your mom comes to you and says, look, I got this idea and guess what? You're in on it. What goes through your mind when you're thinking about that?
Oh. So when my mom comes to us and says, hey, I have this idea, we're going to do this business. I was like, okay, if that's your dream, that's what you want to do. I support that 100%. However, I didn't know the extent of my support at that time. So I was really just like, okay, well, she's going to do the business. I'm going to work. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And then for me, it didn't really dawn on me until maybe about 6 months to a year after she had really gotten the business off the ground. And then I started realizing that the same things that I was doing for corporate America, as far as doing sales and marketing, I could really utilize towards my family business and start putting towards generating wealth for my family. And once I put that into aspect, I came to my mom, I was like, okay, look, so I didn't really get it when you made this business. So I'm here now, what you need me to do? And then from there, it really just kind of took off. But I think the hardest part about having a family business is getting everybody on board to have that collective vision. That is the hardest part. And I think once we got that down packed, it was easy for me to use my skills towards that.
That leads me into my next question that I have to ask. Because when you're thinking about a business, everybody has an idea for your business. Oh, you want to do this. You come up with the idea. And everybody in your family is like, well, what about this? What about this? They come up with their own individual agendas. So what are the moments where you find that you really just kind of clash and disagree when you're trying to build that business brand?
Oh, shall we be honest?
Oh. You at least got the drink.
So it's the moment when she has to remind me, Mom, will you let me do my job? You gave me this job. Let me do my job. I can market. I can presentate. I do all these things. So just let me do it. And me being that cultured kind of, let me cultivate, let me do all the things. And I don't have to be hands-on all the time. And I have to allow her to grow in her place and space. She does a lot of our marketing. She does a lot of our sales outreach, our cold calls, all of those things that I can't always put my hand on. And the biggest clash is not the vision, because we now have a collective family vision of where Bob is supposed to be going. We see ourselves growing in the Atlanta market space. We see ourselves franchising now that we're a United States registered trademark. So we see the vision globally for ourselves. But it's now a matter of letting me step back a little bit, because it's been my baby for so long, and allowing her to have her piece of that, and as well as my son and my family, because most people know I have my uncle working with me, my cousins working with me. So it's a greater family business than most would actually realize.
Yeah.
So do you have anything to add on to that, or did she just kind of hit it on the nail?
I would say, yeah, I think she really just hit it on the nail. And I think for me, I think the biggest dynamic is respecting each other's roles. But you know, like she said, is she's now getting to a point of allowing me to do my job. And I also have to remind myself, like, okay, she's giving me this role, but I still have to get the say so from her. She's still the ultimate supreme boss, and that, you know, whatever she says goes. So I might have this amazing vision, and there's something I might want to play out. But if that doesn't coincide with what she wants and what that vision is for her baby and for her business, then I also have to be able to say, okay, well, let me regroup, let me, you know, reevaluate and bring another solution to her.
Okay, that is awesome. So with starting a family business, you have your family out there thinking about, you know, you say, oh, I'm selling Avon, or I'm selling Mary Kay, and they're like, oh, okay, that's just another person selling something. So when you come and you present them and say, look, I'm starting a business. It's going to be an alcohol catering business. It's going to be Bob. How does it affect you when the people in your family say, you know, oh, I don't know how that's going to work? Or did you have those type of people in your family that was like, I'm not really sure about this? And then eventually they transition over to like, oh, you might be onto something there.
Oh, we still have those.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
We still have those people in our family go, oh, aren't you going to go get a job? So for us, it was a matter of strategically legitimizing the business. For us, it was really about, because the business that we're in requires so much legal documentation, licensure, insurance, aspects that most businesses don't have to tackle until year 2 or 3 or 4, we had to come in the door with. So as we began to build the business, it was a matter of, oh, y'all got this in your LLC, and you got all of that in your insurance. Oh, wow, I didn't know all that. Okay, y'all for real. Kinda so.
Yep. I couldn't have said it better myself. Okay,
so I have to ask, with all of that, with the business, the branding, the getting your paperwork, the working as a unit, working as a family, trying to move the business forward, what is the hardest part of the hustle in itself?
I would have to say the trends in the marketplace would be the biggest thing, because revenue is not always consistent. You have such peaks and valleys, and knowing what the trends are. And with a new business, tracking trends is always hard, because you don't have the collateral for what the history was before. And being that we're in a market that is so novel and such a niche, I can't even go and track my competitors' market space, because there aren't that many competitors out there in the market that I'm doing.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good one. I think in my aspect, the hardest part about our business and it being a family business is, I would have to say it's probably knowing who to connect and what, you know, how those roles are played, because a lot of people, I have all of the branding things on my car. So like I have like the magnets, and I carry the postcards and stuff like that. So they'll be like, hey, so you know, you got a bar, like you know, and I'm like, yeah, you know, my mom owns the bar, you know, owns the business, but you know, we do this, that, and the third. So I'll go out and explain it. And then because they speak to me and see me, and then when they call or when they email, and there's, you know, and then Tanya responds, and they're just like, oh, well, I talked to Jazz, so, you know, I need to be talking to Jazz. And it's like, no,
You talk to all of us.
you talk to all of us, you know. And there are some people who, you know, will talk to my brother, and then, you know, my brother's in Indiana, and he'll be like, hey, you know, if you're in town or you're looking to have somebody for your event, looking to my mom, looking to my sister, you know, they're doing this business, whatever. And they'll be like, oh, well, I talked to Joe, so Joe said that I needed to be talking to Tan or somebody, or what I need to. So that's, I think, has been a struggle for me, is trying to explain it to people, to let them know, like, hey, like, this is a family business from the door, because a lot of people don't find that out until, like, they look at the flyer and then talk to my mom or email her or whatever the case may be. It's just, they look at it like it's a legitimate business, and then they find out on the back end that it's an actual family business, and from there it's just like, oh, okay.
It all kind of comes together.
Y'all versatile.
Okay, it's a family. Y'all
Right.
like real family, not play family. Okay, we get it now. That is awesome. So I guess the next thing I want to know is, when people are starting a business, how do you bounce back from those no's? Because I imagine that, there's so many bartenders out there, people basically mixing drinks and popping up events. So when you finally tell them what it is that you do, they're like, people are really, really, really standoffish with the unfamiliar. So how do you bounce back from the no's once you've explained it, they realize what it is, and they're just still trying to configure how does that apply, and it's something that they need?
I would say that there's a two-part response to your question. One, that as an entrepreneur, you have to learn that your entrepreneurship comes from two places, either your skill set or your passion. And if it's not your skill that drives your business, it means that you are passionate to outrun the no. You're more than one way to skin a cat. There's always the next person. There's always the next deal. So you're running your business from either your skill set or your passion. And for me, it was a really nice balance of both. I never thought myself to be an entrepreneur. I was going to be in corporate America for 25 years, retire and get my gold watch and a check. But then things happened. So that was part one of that answer. Part two is not everyone is your customer. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn in year one. My particular niche is very high-end, upscale, and the dollar figure supports the sale and the growth and the revenue of my business. So there are some people who just don't want to pay my prices. And I explained to them that you're at a place where you don't want to pay this particular dollar figure, but should something go wrong, you're going to pay that 10 times over because my business mitigates risk for you.
Got it. So how important is having insurance?
It is extremely important, not even for just the business owner, but for the people that we interact and we're providing a service for. If you're getting services from someone who is unlicensed and uninsured, woe is to you.
Right. So when you think about it, talking about insurance and everything, what's the liabilities that come with being insured? I know that, if you go to an event, the liability falls on the place, and like if you go to someone's house, you go to their party, the liability falls on that person whose home it is.
Correct.
Versus if they're going to maybe a bar or something like that, then it falls on the bar. But if you have, I guess, a license as a bartender, then if one of your guests leaves and you don't know that they're drunk and they get in a car accident and something happens, there is insurance to cover that. Like, how does that come into play?
It really depends on, it's such a misnomer for licensed bartender and licensed alcohol catering companies, particularly in the state of Georgia. The state of Georgia has what's called a dram shop law, which means that if you are in someone's home, you are served alcohol, and they have any type of expectation of you getting behind the wheel or that you're overly intoxicated, and you cause any type of accident or fatality, the civil suit that can come behind that means that they can now sue you as the homeowner for making those provisions and not providing a licensed alcohol caterer to intervene as your intermediary to make sure that this person has drank the proper amount of alcohol. This person has not exceeded their tolerances. This person is of age to drink. All of these things come into play, and legally you can be held liable. If you're not using a licensed alcohol catering company, you're not being in a place where we can mitigate risk for you.
Okay, so then that leads me into my next question, which is, what's the difference between a licensed bartender and a licensed alcohol caterer?
So the difference really is this. In the state of Georgia, there is no licensed alcohol caterer. I mean, there's no licensed bartender. There's only a licensed alcohol caterer. So a licensed bartender would be someone who has gone to a bartending school and gotten a certificate and now says, oh, I have a license to bartend. That's not completely true. A licensed alcohol caterer carries a liquor license. They make sure that all their bartenders are certified with a certificate to bartend. Then they also make sure that they are trained to be aware of over drinking, mitigate any type of risk. So there are certifications for that. That's called either Serve Safe Alcohol or TIP certification. All of that needs to be tracked and maintained and on file for your bartenders. A licensed alcohol caterer also carries at least $2 million of insurance to cover if there's any problems. If your bartender shows up at your event and they're uninsured, there's nothing I can do for you.
That is something deep that people really, really need to think about when they're having parties. Because Georgia is one of the ultimate party states. It's a party everywhere, every day, Monday through Sunday. I don't think the party ever stops. So that's something really important that people really need to put
It's
into
the Hollywood of the South.
The Hollywood of the South. Absolutely. It's really the new Hollywood.
It is.
Taking over, just in case people just really didn't know. Georgia is really, really, really making
Tyler Perry
big,
Studios,
big, big.
call me.
Tyler Perry. She is here for you if you need. Pause. If you feel like sponsoring an episode or the whole season, because nobody's stopping you, whatever suits your fancy, make sure that you contact us on the information will be provided below. You know what now? Back to the episode. Any advice that is out there that you can give someone who's trying to figure out the difference, figure out which direction they want to go, or maybe even start in following your footsteps?
The biggest thing I would say is identify what your plan is. So with me, I went into the business thinking I was going to do this set of opportunities. I was going to do parties, I was going to do corporate events, I was going to do major festivals, and I was going to get this big food truck and convert it. And knowing that my business morphed over the first year where that was not the direction I was going to go, I was like, oh my God, wait a minute. Hold on, I need to regroup. It really came down to me putting together a strategic business plan, identifying what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, what are the opportunities and threats to my business, who are my competitors, what are they charging, why are they charging, who is their marketplace, who is their customer. So I think identifying what your business plan and model is going to be on the front end is going to be pivotal. What do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And then I would just say doing your research. That I think has been one of my mother's greatest assets is before she does anything, even when it comes down to just a simple booking for the event, she'll always go and do the research of the jurisdictions in the area and see what the laws and the regulations are for that county or even for that city. So when she takes those into consideration, I know that one time we were in Warner Robins and we came with all of our documentation, had no idea that the police were going to show up. And literally they just showed up out of the blue and were like, so where's your license? Where's this? Where's that? But because she already had that research in place and had the permits and had the insurance and had everything ready to go, they literally was just like, okay, well, you guys have a good night and carry on, you know?
Business as usual.
So when you can have that, when you have that steady, what's the word I'm looking for? When you have that foundation of knowledge and research, it really not only, it just really legitimizes you as a business, because I think that's what morphed my mom from just being a side hustle to a legitimized business, is knowing what she knew.
And for you, dealing with the marketing and the getting it out there in the cold call, how hard is it for you to market the idea of a licensed caterer bartending service?
So it's actually not as difficult as I thought it would be. I thought in the beginning of this, it would be so hard to market what my mother does, because it's just like, people are just like, well, what is an alcohol caterer? Like, what is that? But right, you know, because some people are just like, oh, you know, that sounds nice. And then you have to find a way to kind of like minimize that in a way for the people that are just like, okay, so what exactly is that? So then I'll say, okay, well, we're more like a mobile bar. Like, we can bring the alcohol to you, and then we have the bartender there to set up for you. But the main selling point that I think that allows me to market our business and have the success that we have is that I can establish the difference between having that bartender and us saying that we are licensed, bonded, and insured. So we are taking away that risk. So whenever I put that into play, even, with the emails that we send out to some of our partner vendors that we've worked with, once they knew and understood the dynamic between having that coverage and having that security versus just having someone there to have a good time, then that really made us really marketable and profitable in the industry.
That is awesome. So I'm gonna have to ask, how can people really book Bob?
So we are all over the social media. Come at me, come get me, bro. So we're on social media, on Facebook, we're on Instagram. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us at bobtoyou.com. That's our web address, www.bobtoyou.com. You can call us on our 800 number, 844-404-4BOB. You want to say that again? 844-404-4BOB. You can't miss us.
Okay. And are you just in Georgia right now, or do you travel state line?
So we are actually licensed throughout the state of Georgia for alcohol catering. We are licensed in the state of Alabama for bartending services. We are looking to move forward in franchise. So we're looking to be out and about between 2020 and 2025. Come and find us.
All right, you heard it here. If you are looking for something amazing, somebody to really keep the personality going, they have some amazing, I've had them myself, I had a drink or 2 or 3 or 4, that's not important. But these are amazing. This family business is an amazing family business, and I appreciate y'all, and y'all are doing great with the family hustle.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, Toni.
Hi, everybody. We are doing our first episode on an amazing month, the month of February, also known as Black History Month. So it wouldn't be fair if we didn't shout out any special Black people who are doing some amazing things in the community, also who are paving the way and starting some great things in business. They've been in business for a little while, so we'll call this our Black History Business. So we're going to start with Daymond John. If you don't know Daymond John, he is the creator of FUBU. Everybody knows in the 90s, FUBU was a big deal. We had shoes, we had clothes, we had everything. And do you know that it took him 6 times of starting and stopping FUBU for him to really get into business? And over the first 6 years of FUBU, he worked at Red Lobster. That shows you if you stay persistent, you'll keep it going. Moving on to something we watch every day, even still today, BET. Founded by Robert and Shalia Johnson. They coined Black History Month as the first Black billionaires when they sold BET to Viacom for $2.9 million. They are Black history. And everybody knows Will Smith. He created his first Overbrook Entertainment production industry in 1997. He started out as a rapper, moving into acting, and now he's created a whole platform for actors and a whole production company to make sure that good films are being produced. Will Smith is Black history. Don't forget Oprah. Everybody loves Oprah, or a lot of people do at least. She has making amazing marks in history. She started Harpo Productions back in 1986. And then she moved on to the OWN network, and now she has her own magazine, and we see her in the movies every day, moving and partnering with Tyler Perry. Speaking of Tyler Perry, he also is Black history, starting from being homeless and now created to his own production studio right here in Atlanta, Georgia. He is doing great things. Oprah, Tyler, you are Black history. And don't forget, last but not least on this list, Jay-Z and Beyonce, crazy in love. And they've been doing things, if you notice, between fashion and music, they're really, really taking over. Between Beyonce's House of Darion and her new Sold Out Everywhere Ivy Park and Jay-Z's Rockaware, the moments are endless. You two are Black history.